All right. So let's talk Eradicator because I feel like we kind of have to. From what we've seen in the German Nationals finals, Eradicator was insane. It really secured the victory. However, I feel like things should be talked about a bit more. We should go a bit more in depth and not just beef about Eradicator and Floodgates, just like we've seen in the community for the last couple of days. I just want to share my thoughts. You're free to share yours, so let's go ahead and get started. Also, like the video if you liked it. The first thing I want us to ask ourselves, basically. We're going to ask ourselves a couple questions, and then at the end, we're going to decide, or I'm going to decide, and you can like agree or disagree with me. But pretty much the first thing, what does Eradicator have in common with Floodgates and other blowout cards? And I feel like sometimes we kind of contribute a bit too much power to it. And I know that's going to sound weird, but from what I've seen, Eradicator is not always going to prove itself that impactful. Like, let's be real, not every single time you're going to be up against an opponent because it depends on what's in their hand. And even if you call spell and you're like against Kashtira, it's not guaranteed that the opponent is going to have a hand of like 5 spells, just like it happened in the finals. It's not going to happen every single time. And sometimes you might call a spell and get blown out by evenly matched. So how consistently you can achieve this and actually win off of it is the first thing we need to kind of compare. And I feel like Floodgates are a bit more oppressive when it comes to that. However, I'm not supporting Eradicator because when it is a turn skip, because it does happen, it just sucks. And I feel like uninteractive things should overall be taken out of the game. So in my opinion, like, you know, it is an issue, but I just feel like people are beefing a bit too much about it. So the next question we need to ask ourselves is, how consistently is it actually achievable? And if you look at Labyrinth, you're not going to be able to put up Eradicator every single turn, just like it would happen if you were like playing a combo deck and you would go for the exact same combo every single time, or like Super Heavy would play through a million hand traps in the last format, or like just achieve insane boards in the last format. Again, also Branded would Puppet Lock with Expulsion consistently. And I feel like the word consistently is very, very important here because you're not going to be able to get to Eradicator with a Labyrinth hand in every single one of them. So at that point, you're not wasting, but sort of wasting all your resources to set up the Eradicator, which is not going to be 100% worth it. Like, you can't know. Until the second you flip it and you use it, you won't be able to tell if you've made the correct choice. Like, sometimes, sure, but not every single time. So there's also that. The next question we need to ask ourselves is, do trap decks actually need it? And this is like the main issue here, I feel like. Like, I'm just gonna spoil it pretty much. I feel like it should be banned because I don't really like uninteractive cards. And I feel like it kind of gives people, like, people give people shit about playing them, but then they also play them. Like, I played the Puppet Lock. We all played those kinds of things in the past. We just kind of hate it when they are used against us. So I feel like we need to like kind of look at ourselves in the mirror and really ask ourselves, you know, are we just kind of salty because these kinds of cards are used against us, or are we really looking at the benefit of the entire community? You know, so that's why I think uninteractive cards should be hit, just so there's no beef. You know, just so there's no, oh, you know, he said he sacked me, or she did the combo or whatever, and now I got eradicated. Yeah, it happened. Okay, right? It sucks, but I feel like it's just wrong to even have these cards present in the meta. And then we can turn back to the question I posed: do trap decks need it? And it's an issue because they do. If you look at trap cards, they've been falling off, and trap decks have been falling off because cards are just way too busted and decks are way too busted and power creep happened. And right now with Floodgates, literally only with Floodgates and like Mystic Mine, which also is kind of like an oppressive floodgate, this was the only way for you to be able to hang in there with the best decks, because you cannot compete if you're a trap deck. And that's actually really sad. So instead of talking about should all of these cards get banned, we probably need to talk about like how to fix the game overall. And it's not something we can do. It's not, sadly. So I feel like they kind of butchered it the second they started printing cards that are way too busted. Because if the game didn't go to such a length, if it didn't become so explosive, I feel like we wouldn't need cards to counter it. So I don't know, I guess it's just food for thought, because we can't really change anything. Although, I guess if we just like, you know, beef about it long enough, they might do something. But I really think that when they hit Mystic Mind, they kind of did it because they felt like it, not because we were urging them to do it. So there's that as well. And I feel like this is the main issue. I feel like trap decks need cards like Eradicator to even be able to compete. And what they should be doing, what we all should be focusing on, is maybe hitting all of these cards and then trying to find solutions. And I feel like one of the solutions could be what they did with Lightning Storm. They put it to 2. And overall, just limiting and taking blowout cards out of the meta that hurt trap decks could maybe sort of force trap decks to turn to different directions. This may sound weird, but like the second people stop playing as many cards like evenly, like Harpies, like Lightning Storm, all of these cards, then the trap players can just play normal trap cards. If we look at cards like Dogmatica Punishment, like Daruma Karma Cannon, or Ice Dragon's Prison, they're all really fun trap cards that are like cool to play and cool to play against, because you need to think. And it's not just, oh, flip a floodgate, I can't play. You know, and I feel like the power level would be a bit more balanced if those floodgates would be hit, and then people just kind of have no choice and they also have to switch, and trap decks could also maybe shine again. Now, this is all very much wishful thinking, but yeah, I guess I just wanted to make this video to sort of like to talk with you guys, to hear all of your thoughts, and to say that I feel like these cards should be hit. And it's not just Eradicator, it's all of these floodgates and all of these oppressive cards that just make it unfun to play the game, because then you need to counter them with even stronger cards. And if we didn't have things like the puppet lock or whatever in the game, maybe trap decks wouldn't feel the need to play Eradicator as well. So that's something. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is Red Reboot. Now, I think that Red Reboot was a very necessary card to have in the meta. And there's also the argument that trap decks have 3 Solemn Judgment, so that's there as well. And I was an advocate of Red Reboot for quite some time, but my main issue was that people would flip cards like a Pointer or Anti-Spell, again, oppressive cards, and Eradicator can be one of those cards in the correct situation, and then they banned Red Reboot. Okay, cool, they banned it, they took away a blowout card, but then they kind of would have to address the problems as well. So I guess all in all, hopefully this wasn't too random and rambly, but like I think these cards should be hit because it would promote a healthy game, but they would kind of have to do things to also push trap decks in other ways, so they could be built differently and play differently, and we would stop trying to stop each other from playing. This was a weird sentence, but I feel like that's what the game has gotten to. Like, all we're doing is trying to prevent the opponent from playing. And I guess to summarize it, I feel like it doesn't really matter which card we're talking about. I don't think Red Reboot should be coming back. The card is way too strong. And yeah, I guess we could just hit everything. Just hit everything. Push better trap cards so trap decks can also compete, and stop relying on floodgates and like ban skill drain because it's just really good. And other than that, you know, just maybe stop focusing on trying to lock the opponent out, but actually play an interactive game. So I don't know, hopefully I gave you some food for thought. And like I said, I would really love to hear all your guys' inputs and like ideas, like solutions, not just complaints, but solutions as well. And since we're on the topic of that, I just quickly want to end this video with saying something that kind of bothered me when it came to my last video. I talked about how I kind of hate the negativity and people just, you know, whine about floodgates and all of that. And what my main issue is, and maybe I didn't word that perfectly, is that people take away other people's success because these successful people played floodgates and turn skips and all of that. And then they'll go like, oh, he just won because he's playing Labyrinth and he's playing Skill Drain and all of that. And that's just, it's so stupid to me when people do this, because a lot of Labyrinth players went to the event and he won. right? Then it's a combination of skill, it's a combination of like, you know, good side decking, just being a good player overall, just yeah, some lucky hands, some lucky matchups, but that's just what it means to do well at an event. And I don't think we should be saying, you know, a Floodgate carried him or Eradicator carried him. Yeah, it won a game in the finals. However, he got to the finals. And I'm not just saying this because of this particular like Labyrinth deck and Labyrinth player, just overall, I feel like we're kind of like, we like to take success away from people and not celebrate them when they do well. And I feel like that's an issue. So I guess that's another thing to think about. But now I feel like this video is going on for a bit too long because I'm like, you know, trying to solve the Yu-Gi-Oh community. So I don't know. Just if you like the video, please make sure to like it. I love talking to you guys in the comments, so share your thoughts and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.